Greetings and salutations. I'm Fuzz Martin, and you're listening to 15 Minutes with Fuzz, where I showcase stories of positivity from Washington County, Wisconsin. If you're listening to this the day that it comes out, I hope your sump pumps are working and that your basement stayed dry. For you listening in the future, it rained yesterday a lot. If you're a new listener to the show, each week on Tuesday, I highlight a positive person, organization, or event from our area in order to help promote good things going on. If you like the show, please do me a favor and hit the follow button in your podcast player, and you will receive all the new episodes when they come out on Tuesday mornings. Also, if you like the show and you would be so kind, please consider giving the show a 5-star review. I kind of feel like I'm an Uber driver when I ask you that, and there's nothing wrong with that. This week, I'm joined by Pete Samson, president of the Richfield Historical Society. The Richfield Historical Society is a very active organization, and they have a lot of fun events and lectures that seem to pack the house. Pete was great to talk to, and I encourage you to check out their Maple Syrup Family Day coming up on March 25th. And with that, here's 15 minutes with Pete Samson of the Richfield Historical Society on 15 Minutes with Fuzz. Pete, thank you for joining me today on 15 Minutes with Fuzz. You are the president of the Richfield Historical Society, am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Now, so how did you first get involved with the Richfield Historical Society?
Well, that's actually somewhat of an interesting story. I don't live too far from the park. Before I retired, I used to take my dog walking through the park, and they would see me in the park so often. They say, hey, sometime you ought to join us and help out in the park. So about 8 years ago, I retired, and I started working in a park and really enjoyed it. And now I somehow became the president.
It's funny how when people retire, they often become volunteers, and then it's kind of like working again, right?
Yeah, because I had a job. It's interesting when you retire, it goes like from 100 emails a day to phone calls to nothing. And it's like, so this has really filled in really nice. So it's a really relaxing type of work.
Great. What were you doing before you retired?
I was in operations management and sheet metal fabrication for 40 years.
Well,
and,
yeah. So you said that you've been involved with RHS for 8 years now?
8 years, yeah.
And you've obviously seen a lot of Richfield's history now, as it being the president and being involved for 8 years. What is one of your favorite parts of Richfield's history?
One of the favorite part is actually just understanding how we used to have a railroad station and things like that. And recently we've had the donation of somebody gave us the original benches that sat outside of that bench. And so hopefully this year we're going to be displaying those. And so just learning that how much stuff in the commute that people used to make basically without freeways and good roads from the Richfield area.
One of the things that just has really amazed me about the Richfield Historical Society is how active you are. So, and just before we started recording, you talked about some of the information sessions that you have and that you have had at the Richfield Historical Society. And you guys get a lot of people that come to listen to those, right?
Yes. We have monthly event meetings to really talk about the history of the area, not only Richfield. We went through the Potawatomi Indians, how the Indians went, to prison camps and Chinese prison camps that were housed all over the state of Wisconsin that you really don't hear much or read much about.
So you just had the German beer event, and now you have more events coming up later this year. And we'll talk about the Maple Sugar Family Day, which is coming up soon. We'll talk about that in a bit. But what are some of the other events that the Richfield Historical Society has throughout the year?
Well, we have a nice art in the mill, which has about 80 different artists showing different products. And we really just a juried event, so it's all stuff that people actually make. And then our threshery, Harvest Fest, comes in September. It's the third weekend of September. It's a 2-day event where it's just amazing the type of equipment. We have a 1903 steam engine running a 52-inch sawmill cutting with an operator riding right next to it, cutting these logs. And it's just really impressive to see.
I bet. What else do you guys have throughout the year?
One of our newer events is a Blacksmith Day, which is the first weekend in October, where we have a little bit more of a hands-on for the people can actually see and actually do some stuff. And an event we just added last year to actually really was just very successful for our first year is a Luminary Walk, which is the first weekend in November. And for first event on a very windy night, we exceeded all of our expectations and look forward to having an event like that. It really doesn't necessarily, we say, what does that have to do with history? It really brings younger people to the park with families who come back to our events, because sometimes I personally drove past the park for years without ever driving in to see what the park was all about.
Let's talk about the park for a moment. So there's the Richfield Historical Park, and then there's also the Richfield Nature Park. Is that right?
Yes. Basically, you would not know the difference, except the Historical Park is about 33 acres, and it's just to follow the road that goes through the park, and that's the road that it's the Historical Park.
Okay.
The Nature Park is behind the Historical Park, and really nice walking and hiking trails around the park. And it's really an enjoyable, it's about a half a mile off the road, so you don't see it. You just feel like you're out really in the middle of nowhere.
Sure. Feels like you're going to someone's house or something.
Yeah.
Is there a cost to get into the park? Or?
Park is free all year long.
Okay.
And there's no charge to get in the park.
What things in the historical part of the park, what kind of things can you see there?
Well, in this historical park, I think it's one of the most photographed, where we bring a lot of people and a lot of photographers come in and they do high school pictures, graduation, senior pictures, family pictures, baby pictures. Our historical buildings really are a beautiful background to that.
Is there event space? Can people rent space there at all for events and things?
We offer a rental of, really the rental is only if you want to have some tables and benches set up, or power. Otherwise, the use of the park is pretty much free. You can sit around all the buildings, and there's really nice. We have benches and tables throughout the park for people just to come in and enjoy the day.
Coming up on Saturday, March 25th, is the Richfield Historical Society Maple Syrup Family Day. What can you tell me about that event?
Well, this is one of my favorite events. We do a lot of collecting of sap and maple syrup, so this is really close to the end of the season. We actually are making maple syrup. People can come and see how the syrup is being made. We have the event is totally free, except if you want to make some purchases. But you can come to the event and enjoy goats, ducks, watching the blacksmiths, learning how a maple syrup is made. That is all free. A
great event for the kids and families and things like that.
It's one of our biggest events attendance for young families, and it's fun to see. We do an education day that I did not mention with all the third and fourth graders throughout the school, and it's fun to see kids come back and say, "Oh, I remember coming here at education day." And then actually some people, I had one young married couple come and says, "I remember coming here when I was in fifth grade." So we've been doing that for a long time as well.
That's great. So Pete, do you get involved with making the maple syrup at all?
Yes, I do. I'm sort of, somehow that was my first thing in charge, just be in charge of. And we tap over 100 trees in the park. And by the end of the season, we'll collect 12 to 1,500 gallons of maple syrup and make about 30 to 35 gallons of maple syrup that we actually sell at this event.
Okay, so people can come and buy the syrup.
People can come and buy the syrup at the event.
That's awesome. And speaking of maple syrup, there's also a pancake breakfast that day. Is that right? Yeah,
pancake breakfast is all the pancakes you can eat. It's a reasonably cost $7, and
do you have to buy tickets ahead of time for that?
No.
Okay. So that's from 9 till 12 on Saturday, March 25th, but the event goes until 4 p.m.?
Yes, it does. Then we have hot dogs and other snacks available for purchase throughout the day.
If people want to find out more information about the Maple Syrup Family Day pancake breakfast or just about the Richfield Historical Society as a whole, where can they go?
They're going to go to richfieldhistoricalsociety.com. or they can go on our Facebook page. We have a really nice active Facebook page that shows the current events. And we also have a YouTube page that really shows a nice overview of the park.
Again, I want to say that I'm active in the community. I work on a number of nonprofits, and I know how much work it can be to do these kind of things. And I think that you guys do such a good job of staying active, presenting really interesting information, and keeping people involved with the Historical Society. So kudos to you.
Thank you. And I was impressed with that myself, because I wasn't, when we said to have monthly meetings, and I go, oh, okay, there's going to be 5 or 6 of us at this monthly meeting, and we average 60 to 100 people.
Wow.
And I think part of it is we try to get different speakers that are of interest to people. So we get, 1 month it might be you have an interest in farming, the next month you might have the beer, or we have a nice person that comes in who talks about being President Lincoln's wife, Mary, and dressed up in attire, and it's really an interesting story as well.
That's excellent. So again, richfieldhistoricalsociety.org, and also check out their Facebook page. Pete, thank you so much for coming in and talking with me today, and I'm going to talk to my wife about bringing our 7-year-old to Maple Syrup Family Day on the 25th of March.
One thing I did almost forget is that we do have maple cotton candy.
Oh, delicious.
Which is one of our signature products that we have in the park, and it's really good. And if you bring them in, I'd gladly just tell him, Pete, you know Pete, and I'll give you a free one.
Excellent. I'm in. We never turn down free cotton candy. But yes, that's maple syrup cotton candy. That sounds amazing. Pete, thanks again. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you again to Pete Samson of the Richfield Historical Society for joining me for today's episode of 15 Minutes with Fuzz. Again, Maple Syrup Family Day is coming up on Saturday, March 25th from 9 till 4 at Richfield Historical Park. Put it in your calendar. That'll do it for today's episode. Again, if you want to hear new episodes, which come out on Tuesday mornings, please hit the follow button in your podcast player. You can also listen to all of the episodes of 15 with Fuzz at 15withfuzz.com. That's 15 spelled out with fuzz.com. And if you want to suggest a topic for the show, please click the contact button there on 15withfuzz.com and send me your suggestions. I'm always looking for positive stories happening here in or around Washington County. Have a great week, and I will talk to you next Tuesday here on 15 Minutes with Fuzz.